Islam Makhachev. Dude goes up one weight class, goes up to 170. He was the 55-pound most dominant champion ever, most title defenses at 55 ever. Just dominates at 170. Like, every round. People are saying it's boring, but listen, man, it's boring if you're a casual. The fact that he was able to do it every round, it was a little frustrating because you wanted Jack to try to adjust, but he couldn't, man. Islam shut his game down right away. He low kick front leg real quick, had him limping real quick. Like within the first round, he had hit it 3 or 4 times. Bad.
Islam is a beast, you know. Islam is a young, very, very hungry. It was my time when I supposed to win every round. But right now, Islam time to beat everybody in every round, you know.
You look at Islam versus JDM. I was very impressed with Islam's feinting. There was one point, because I always say sometimes I overfeint, but that's good because they never know when it's coming. But Islam did that in his last fight with JDM. There was points he just was feinting like 12 times before he even threw a jab. This is later in the fight as well, so I was really impressed with that.
Like you think everyone thinks Charles Oliveira is good until Islam gets on top of him, right? Charles Oliveira sucks comparatively to real good grapplers. He's not even near.
He's more of a strictly
well, you just know like the substance of a guy like what Islam is versus a guy like Charles.
Yeah.
Islam Makhachev just silenced every single doubter with one performance, and now the entire MMA world is losing their minds. We're talking about a fighter who didn't just win his latest bout. He absolutely dismantled his opponent so thoroughly that legends, former champions, and analysts are calling him the most dangerous man on the planet. Henry Cejudo, the former 2-division champion who's never been one to hand out compliments, just made a statement that's got everyone talking. He said Islam might actually surpass Khabib Nurmagomedov's legendary status. Yeah, you heard that right. The same Khabib who retired undefeated and is considered by many to be the greatest lightweight of all time.
Yes. Just out of pure merit, 100%. Title defense is a two weight division thing, but it's ironic, bro. If they were to fight, Khabib would beat him.
and the crazy
said it. And he said it himself, like, dude, if I was to fight this dude, he'd beat me.
But here's where it gets absolutely wild. Cejudo didn't stop there. He broke down exactly why Islam's current run is so terrifying, pointing to his numerous title defenses and the fact that he's now a dual-division champion. The crazy part? Cejudo admitted that if Khabib and Islam fought right now, Khabib would probably still win. And get this, Islam himself agreed with that assessment. That's the level of respect and humility we're dealing with here. But what makes this even more insane is that despite acknowledging Khabib's superiority, the entire MMA community is watching Islam build something that might actually eclipse his mentor's legacy. We're witnessing greatness in real time, and most people don't even realize how historic this moment is.
All party. Any chance that Ilia Topuria goes up to welterweight and fights Islam Makhachev for the 3rd belt?
Goes up 2 weight divisions.
He's talked about it.
So I thought like Islam might do that. I feel like he might have the size to do that. But
wait, to go to middleweight?
Maybe.
He could.
So wrestlers, they're a different breed, those guys.
Can you imagine Islam Makhachev versus Khamzat Chimaev? That would feed generations. That's crazy.
That would be huge. And then you put it in like Abu Dhabi. like it'd be wild. Everyone's winning that from that card.
Now listen to this part, because Robert Whittaker just dropped some insight that changes everything about Islam's future. The former middleweight champion looked at Islam's recent welterweight performance and said something that should terrify every fighter in 2 weight classes above him. Whittaker believes Islam has the physical tools to compete at middleweight. Think about that for a second. We're talking about a lightweight champion who's already proven he can dominate at welterweight, and now a former champion at 185 pounds is saying he could handle that division too. Whittaker specifically mentioned how a potential fight between Islam and Khamzat Chimaev in Abu Dhabi would be absolutely massive, and he's not wrong. The magnitude of that fight, the venue, the cultural significance, it would be one of the biggest events in UFC history.
Dana, in the end, a much more dominant fight for Islam than maybe we thought. I thought maybe it was going to be a bit more 50-50.
I agree with you.
What did you think of his performance, Jack's performance, and the whole fight?
Yeah, I mean, not the most exciting title fight you'll ever see, but
let me tell you what, complete dominance. And it's depending on what we do next with him and what's going on, this guy's headed toward GOAT talk.
But wait, it gets even crazier when you hear what Dana White has to say about all this. The UFC president, who's seen every legendary performance in the company's history, is putting Islam in conversations reserved for the absolute greatest of all time. White broke down Islam's fighting style in a way that should make every contender nervous. He said Islam doesn't just win fights, he dictates every single segment of every contest, leaving his opponents with virtually no options. According to White, Islam's control and effectiveness are beyond dispute. These aren't just wins we're talking about. These are the kind of performances that forge legacies, and White believes Islam is gradually moving into discussions with names like Anderson Silva, John Jones, and Georges St. Pierre.
Khabib, I've been in the fight business since I was 20 years old, and all I ever hear is, this guy's going to be a world champion, this guy's going to do this guy's going to do that. Everybody says the same thing, and almost nobody ever does or makes it. His father said, Khabib will go in and dominate, and he'll have a run, and when he's done, and then Islam will come in behind him and do the same. And, you know, holy sh**, it played out exactly the way his father said, which is pretty amazing. I don't know what you asked me, but I hope I answered you.
Here's the kicker, though, and this is something that gives you chills when you really think about it. Dana White revealed a prophecy that's coming true right before our eyes. The late Abdulmanap Nurmagomedov, Khabib's father and Islam's coach, made a prediction years ago that seemed almost too perfect to be real. Abdulmanap was certain that Khabib would dominate the sport first, and once his reign was finished, Islam Makhachev would take over and continue that dominance. White said things have transpired exactly as Abdulmanap foretold. We're literally watching a master plan unfold that was set in motion years ago by one of the greatest minds in MMA history. The precision of this prediction is honestly mind-blowing when you consider how unpredictable this sport usually is.
Tied the record for Anderson Silva, 16 wins. He's got the belt in 2 divisions. Like, is there the argument there that he's the greatest of all time?
I think, brother, he's a guy, he's not a cheater, he does everything right. And when he fights people, he smashes them. It's not even conversation. A lot of those guys, you guys call them pound for pound, they have split decision, close round, you know, a lot of like allegation around him. He's the man. Islam Makhachev is the man. And everybody needs to say he's the man. He's the greatest lightweight all the time. And I believe right now, people have to start putting him in a good company.
And get this, Ali Abdelaziz, who manages some of the biggest names in the sport, just made a statement that's got people divided. He's arguing that Islam deserves higher acclaim than Anderson Silva, and his reasoning is fascinating. Abdelaziz isn't just talking about fighting ability here. He's emphasizing Islam's character, his adherence to the rules, his behavior outside the cage. According to Abdelaziz, these ethical attributes make Islam more deserving of GOAT status than fighters who might have had personal controversies or failed drug tests. It's a completely different way of evaluating greatness, and it's sparking debates across social media about what really makes a fighter the greatest of all time.
Ties Anderson for the longest winning streak. He's the 11th double champ. I mean, he's right now in the greatest of all time discussion, right?
Yeah, 100%, right? Like, for a guy like Islam to continue Khabib's legacy. Everybody thought Khabib could be this. Everybody thought Khabib would be there. Now Islam's doing it. He's continuing it and he's going with it. He's so good. He's a good human being, so you can't be mad at it. You have to give him his props. He's been dominating.
Belal Muhammad, who knows elite welterweight competition better than almost anyone, sees Islam as solidly among MMA's all-time elite. But what Belal said about Islam continuing Khabib's legacy is what really stands out. He's not just talking about similar fighting styles here. Belal is saying Islam exhibits an identical level of dominance to what Khabib showed during his reign. That's a massive statement when you consider how untouchable Khabib looked during his championship run. Belal emphasized Islam's consistency and his ability to continuously overcome prime contenders, and he believes Islam has already secured his spot among the sport's greatest fighters. Coming from someone who competes at the highest level of welterweight, that endorsement carries serious weight.
I'm very astonished. Islam, I think, looked better than ever. I never saw him breathing hard. At 155, I'll see after he gets some good wrestling scrambles or a guy might get away or something, he'll maybe take a little breath, catch his breath, and go right back into it. This was scary, man. This guy never got tired. I'd look at him after every round, wasn't even breathing, was a joke. He's gonna be a scary guy at 170. The amount of strength, gas, and experience, technique he has. To me, he's #1 pound for pound guy right now.
But here's where things get really interesting, because Jorge Masvidal just gave Islam the ultimate compliment. Gamebred, who's faced killers his entire career and knows what elite looks like, proclaimed Islam the premier pound-for-pound fighter in the world right now. Masvidal said Islam looked absolutely unconquerable in his recent performance, showed no signs of fatigue, and displayed a combination of power, endurance, and technical skill that he's rarely seen. But what really caught people's attention was when Masvidal called Islam a genuinely terrifying entity at 170 pounds. This is coming from a guy who's never been intimidated by anyone, who's built his career on fearlessness. When Jorge Masvidal calls you terrifying, you know you're operating on a different level.
It's really, really hard to beat this guy. I don't think I could ever bet against him now, unless it's my little brother Ilya, but other than that, I mean, this guy's just a problem, man. He is so fucking good. And everywhere, his stand-up, he was fucking actually piecing up Jack on the feet. Jack was worried about the takedown. He started chopping that leg. It was a stellar performance. I know a lot of fans said it wasn't the most exciting, this and that. But man, it's something to his job. He did what he's supposed to do. Take the guy down, control him, try to hurt him, try to submit him. It's not really his fault that he's so damn good.
Hold up, because what Jorge said next is even more telling about Islam's dominance. Masvidal, who's competed against the best welterweights in the world, stated that Islam is incredibly difficult to defeat. In fact, he believes only his friend Ilia Topuria could potentially stand a chance against the Dagestani star. Think about what that means. A veteran welterweight is saying that out of all the elite fighters across multiple divisions, only one featherweight champion might have the tools to compete with Islam. Masvidal specifically pointed out Islam's striking improvements, noting how well-rounded he's become. We're not just talking about a dominant grappler anymore, we're talking about a complete mixed martial artist who's evolved beyond what anyone expected.
History. He is just so strong, he is so good, he is so dominant, he is so talented, and now he becomes just the 11th fighter in UFC history to win a belt in 2 different weight classes. He is also the man who has just won his 16th fight in a row, and in doing so, ties the great Anderson Silva for the longest winning streak in UFC history. So all kinds of history made tonight at Madison Square Garden. He is the pound-for-pound best in the world. There is no denying that, and is slowly but surely going down as one of the greatest ever, and in my opinion, has put his mentor, Khabib Nurmagomedov, with this victory very much in the rearview mirror. He has surpassed him. If he had not done so already, Islam Makhachev is that guy, and now the
Now listen to this, because Ariel Helwani just made a statement that's got the MMA world buzzing. The most respected journalist in the sport named Islam Makhachev the top pound-for-pound competitor globally following his latest victory. But what's really significant is that Helwani believes Islam has officially pulled ahead of his mentor, Khabib Nurmagomedov. This is huge because Helwani has covered both fighters extensively and understands the dynamics of their relationship better than almost anyone. He pointed out that Islam's recent performance further distanced him from Khabib's shadow, proving that he's forging his own legendary legacy in UFC history. When someone as knowledgeable and connected as Helwani makes that kind of declaration, it carries massive weight throughout the industry.
I don't know if I could answer that because what Khabib was able to do for the sport and for the Muslim. I mean, obviously there were Muslims in the sport before Khabib, but what he was able to do as far as putting that on his back, I think was remarkable. So and then the way Khabib was disposing of his guys. So it was, man, it's tough to say, but I do think Islam Makhachev is right now is up.
But wait, it gets even better when you hear Kamaru Usman's take on this whole situation. The former welterweight champion, who knows what it takes to dominate a division, gave props to Khabib's influence while acknowledging that Islam currently leads the sport. Usman said something fascinating about what it's like to potentially face Islam. He characterized Islam as one of the sport's most difficult matchups and admitted he found no flaws in Islam's overall skill set. Coming from someone who held the welterweight title for years and faced the best competition in the world, that's an incredible admission. Usman compared the pressure of potentially facing Islam to his own pre-fight feelings, saying that fighters of Islam's caliber force athletes into their deepest competitive zone.
A glaze in any way, shape, form, or fashion, but I say it's the most competitive because when I look at a guy like Islam, I don't really see holes like that, and that's something that scares me, that causes that heartbeat to go up, and that's where you see some of the most spectacular performance. Because the last time I felt that like that was Kobe Covington won. And that's when I was like, yo, you got a guy that can wrestle just as good as you, a guy that can grapple just as good, a guy that can maybe not strike it, but a guy that can strike just as well. You have a guy that's good at all these things. How do you get that victory? And that's where you live. That's where you get that your spirit just is in there to just fight it out. And so I would say yes, if you're talking about which fight right now is probably the most competitive. And listen, Islam is great. He's great. Especially what he did last night. Islam is great. You can't take.
Here's where it gets absolutely wild, though, because Michael Bisping broke down exactly how Islam dominated his recent opponent. The former middleweight champion and current analyst watched Islam systematically dismantle Javier Mendez from round 3 onward, and what he observed was masterful. Bisping noted how Islam's opponent appeared increasingly weary and frustrated as the fight progressed, while Islam maintained constant pressure and threatened submissions throughout. What impressed Bisping most was Islam's ability to maintain dominance while his opponent struggled to keep pace. This wasn't just a win. It was a systematic breakdown of a high-level opponent by someone operating on a completely different level.
Makhachev is the next level. Okay, so he made a big mistake there in trying to go for his own throw, ended up back on the ground, and then in rounds 3, 4, and 5, Islam just timed them perfectly. There was almost no resistance, but there was a lot of resistance on the face of Jack, right? He looked miserable. He looked like he couldn't wait for this fight to end. And I'm not saying that to insult Jack. Far from it. In fact, I'm saying the opposite, because he could have taken the easy way out several times. Islam was trying to finish him. He was trying to get Kimuras. He was trying to get straight arm locks. He was trying to get the doors multiple times that he's got many other great fighters with, and he was trying to get rear naked chokes, okay? And Jack was tired. Jack was deflated. He was dejected. He was beaten, and he knew it was. He knew he was. And all he could have done was just extend his arm. All he could have done was not resist, okay? But the man was still fighting. He was still trying to get back to his feet. His coach is giving him a hard time in the corner. They're all frustrated with him because, of course, they just want the best for him, but it wasn't meant to.
And get this detail that really shows Islam's technical superiority. Chael Sonnen observed that Islam's takedown control completely shut down his opponent's offensive capabilities. Despite his opponent's reputation for toughness and resilience, Islam's grappling pressure was suffocating. Sonnen praised the opponent for staying in the fight, but emphasized Islam's clear superiority throughout. When you consider Islam's current record and compare it to legendary runs like Anderson Silva's title defense streak, the numbers become really impressive. Islam's accomplishments, including his status as a 2-division champion and his sustained winning streak, are already putting him in historically significant territory.
The fact that he couldn't do anything. He was getting taken down. He was getting controlled. He did do a good job of not giving up, okay? Because, listen, Islam is a tremendous fighter, okay? He's got a record now of 28-1. He now ties Anderson Silva for a 16-fight win streak. I still think Anderson's was more impressive because 12 of those 16 fights were title fights, and that is more impressive. And, of course, we saw some wild knockouts from Anderson Silva, but still, I'm not taking away from Islam Makhachev. What he's achieved is unbelievable. He's a 2-weight division champion. Anderson Silva didn't do that, and he has won 16 in a row, okay? So take a bow. Unbelievable. And it was domination for...
Now here's something fascinating that gives us insight into what it's actually like to fight these Dagestani legends. Dustin Poirier has faced both Islam and Khabib, and his comparison between the two is incredible. According to Poirier, although both fighters are dominant, their grappling pressure feels completely different. Islam relies more on upper body control and clinch work, while Khabib emphasized takedowns and relentless pressure from different angles. Poirier believed Khabib was physically stronger, but described Islam's submission pressure as absolutely crushing. The way Poirier described the sequence leading to Islam's finish showcased exceptional technical skill that goes beyond just physical dominance.
Compare his style of grappling to Khabib's.
Takedowns are different. Pressure's similar. Takedowns are a little different. He does a lot of upper body stuff. He kept trying to clinch up with me. Khabib would shoot lower shots. I think Khabib was stronger, physically stronger. Islam's squeeze was incredible. That torque he got in that Darce choke, and it was like a vice, it was like a vice grip. Like, I knew he was tough. I knew he was going to be strong. I knew he had grit. You don't get in the position he's in by not having all of those things. You have to have everything.
And that takedown leading into the final sequence, I mean, that was pretty high-level stuff, right?
Yeah, and I saw people saying like, oh, Dustin, I've never even seen that before. I've seen it. Trust me, I've been doing this a long time. I've seen it before. I just didn't think it was about to happen right there.
Did you feel like he was getting tired?
We were both fatigued just from fighting hard, but I don't think he was anywhere close to. He could have done another 5 minutes, no doubt. Both of us, our punches are going to be a little slower. Our legs are a little tired, but neither one of us was tired. We could have kept.
But listen to this part, because Poirier's description of fighting Islam reveals something really important about his style. Dustin explained that battling Islam feels awkward and nearly impossible to counter, because his movement patterns are so unpredictable. Islam's rhythm is unconventional, making it extremely difficult for opponents to find their timing or build any momentum during exchanges. Every time Poirier tried to increase his output or open up offensively, Islam would somehow slip away and reset the position. What's really telling is that Poirier admitted certain attacks were too dangerous to attempt because they could instantly result in a takedown. That level of threat awareness shows just how complete Islam's game has become.
Stopped him from...
Similar to Khabib, his movement is really strange. The timing of it is really strange to get his cadence. I wanted to open up more and throw more volume, but when he would commit to the pocket, he would exit weird. His dips with his head, I heard my corner telling me throw the knee the whole time, but I just felt like I might get taken down off of it. And his movement is it's kind of awkward. It's a weird timing, so I couldn't get good combinations going. But everything else
Here's something interesting that addresses the size question everyone's been asking. Paddy Pimblett gave his perspective on Islam's physical presence after watching him compete at welterweight. Seeing Islam next to his recent opponent made Paddy realize that Islam genuinely belongs at 170 pounds. His opponent didn't appear significantly larger, and Islam didn't look like a small lightweight trying to compete against a natural welterweight. This observation is crucial because it supports the idea that Islam could potentially compete in even higher weight classes. When fighters and analysts start talking about your ability to move up in weight while maintaining effectiveness, that's when you know you're dealing with someone special.
Looks different, that's weird. Just looks different. So takedown straight away. That looked easy for Islam, that takedown. Like, as soon as I seen him in the cage next to each other and seeing the size, I was like, yeah, Islam will be able to grapple him. I thought that jab might be a bit too big for him, but he doesn't look like a lightweight fighting a welterweight, does it?
Alexander Volkanovski, who's faced Islam and understands his capabilities better than most, praised Islam's commanding performance and called his recent display remarkable. But what Volkanovski said about potential future matchups is really intriguing. He believes Kamaru Usman would present Islam's most formidable test, specifically because of Usman's tactical approach and ability to minimize risks during fights. Coming from someone who's actually been in there with Islam, that analysis carries serious weight. Volkanovski understands both fighters' capabilities and believes that stylistic matchup would be absolutely fascinating to watch unfold.
One lot, unbelievable performance. I think he goes down as one of the best ever, yeah, he mentioned the White House, but I think he'll defend his belt before the White House. The White House is until July, is it? Let's see what happens, lad, you never know. Ilya's been saying he wants to go up and fight him, lad, but you've got other contenders there now. Morales, Prates, you've then got Ian Gary if he beats Bilal next week. Shavkat as well, who needs to come back. He's been the #1 contender for about a year. They're all exciting matchups for Islam, lad. The welterweight division at the moment could be becoming more exciting than the lightweight division. I don't think any division has been more exciting than lightweight in over 10 years. Good times for the sport, like, you know what I mean? Some interesting fights, some boss matchups, but we're just going to have to see what happens, aren't we, over the coming months.
And here's something that should terrify middleweights everywhere. Sean O'Malley was so impressed by Islam's recent victory that he believes Islam could perform well at 185 pounds. O'Malley specifically noted Islam's fight IQ and technical abilities, saying they would allow him to manage most opponents even at middleweight. The fact that fighters are talking about Islam's potential success 2 weight classes above his natural division shows just how dominant his recent performances have been. O'Malley also mentioned how fascinating a grappling match between Islam and Khamzat Chimaev would be, considering both fighters' elite wrestling backgrounds and submission skills.
Usman can be a problem. In the end, because we've seen how he's done well against Chimaev as well.
Yeah.
That can be definitely. Yeah, you're probably right. Probably, and he doesn't take unnecessary risks. So he's a smart. I think Usman will be Islam's toughest challenge. Won't take.
So there you have it. We've got legends, former champions, current contenders, and respected analysts all saying the same thing. Islam Makhachev isn't just dominating his division. He's operating on a level that puts him in conversations with the greatest fighters of all time. What we're witnessing isn't just another championship run. This is the systematic construction of a legacy that might surpass even his mentor's incredible achievements. The scary part. Islam seems to be getting better with each performance, and he's already talking about moving up to even higher weight classes. Here's my question for you, drop it in the comments. Do you think Islam is already the pound-for-pound king, or does he need to defend his titles a few more times to earn that spot? If this breakdown helped you understand why the entire MMA world is talking about Islam Makhachev, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell because this story is just getting started. I'll see you in the next one.
Larger version of Islam.
Smart enough to know that's probably the only, I mean, at 185, he could probably beat most guys. He probably could do that to most guys. Khamzat is just a bigger version of Islam. Like there's just, that would be sick to watch. That'd actually be a fun grappling fight. I'd love.
But hold on, because there's something absolutely mind-blowing that nobody's talking about yet, and it completely changes how we should view Islam's dominance. Did you know that Islam Makhachev has never been dropped in his entire UFC career? Think about that for a second. We're talking about a guy who's faced elite strikers, powerful wrestlers, and submission specialists, and not one of them has been able to put him on the canvas even once. Compare that to other pound-for-pound greats who have had moments of vulnerability, and you start to realize just how untouchable Islam really is. Here's where it gets even crazier, though. Daniel Cormier, who coached alongside Khabib's father and watched Islam develop from the beginning, recently revealed something that gives you chills. DC said that Abdulmanap Nurmagomedov used to tell him that Islam was actually the more naturally gifted athlete between him and Khabib. According to Abdulmanap, Islam had better instincts, smoother movement, and a higher fight IQ from the very beginning. The only reason Khabib became champion first was because he was older and more experienced. Cormier said watching Islam's recent performances proves that Abdulmanap's assessment was absolutely correct. And listen to this detail that shows just how far ahead Islam is mentally. Javier Mendez, who coaches both fighters, revealed that Islam studies film more obsessively than anyone he's ever worked with. We're talking about a guy who watches tape for hours every single day, breaking down not just his upcoming opponents, but fighters he might face years down the line. Mendez said Islam already has game plans prepared for matchups that don't even exist yet. That level of preparation and strategic thinking is what separates good champions from legendary ones. But here's something that should absolutely terrify every fighter in the lightweight and welterweight divisions. Islam's recent performance wasn't just dominant, it was efficient in a way that suggests he's operating at maybe 70% of his actual capability. Watch the fight back and notice how relaxed he looks throughout. His breathing never changes, his movement stays crisp, and he never appears to be in any real danger. Former UFC fighter Kenny Florian broke this down perfectly, saying that Islam looked like he was in a completely different fight than his opponent. That's the hallmark of true greatness, making elite competition look routine. Now get this, because what Islam said in his post-fight interview reveals something incredible about his mindset. When asked about his performance, Islam didn't celebrate or talk about how dominant he was. Instead, he immediately started discussing the mistakes he made and areas where he needs to improve. This is a guy who just dismantled a world-class opponent, and he's already focused on getting better. That mentality is exactly what Kobe Bryant used to talk about. The obsession with perfection that drives truly elite performers to keep evolving even after reaching the top. Here's where the conversation gets really interesting, though, because we need to talk about Islam's age and what that means for his potential legacy. The man is only 32 years old and already has accomplishments that most fighters never achieve in their entire careers. If he continues at this pace for even 3 more years, we're looking at a resume that could legitimately challenge John Jones and Anderson Silva for the greatest of all-time discussion. Former bantamweight champion Dominic Cruz pointed out that Islam's prime years are still ahead of him, which is absolutely terrifying for everyone else in his weight classes. And here's something that nobody saw coming, but makes perfect sense when you think about it. Islam's recent performance has apparently caught the attention of fighters outside of MMA. Multiple boxing champions have reached out through social media, expressing interest in potential crossover opportunities. While Islam hasn't responded to these inquiries directly, his team has confirmed that offers are coming in from unexpected places. The fact that his dominance is transcending sport boundaries shows just how impressive his recent run has been.